Hello, I'm Nicky Bray. I'm a community music worker and a musician and songwriter. I'm going to talk to you about getting started with songwriting. Now, there isn't just one way to write a song. It can be a very different process depending on the songwriter and the type of song. But I'm going to share some tips which work for me and hopefully which might help inspire you too. The songs I write are humorous and heavily based around lyrics and storytelling. Some songwriters play intricate and complex music, whereas my songs are often musically quite simple, and I instead try to make them interesting through the subject matter, lyrics, story, and vocal melodies. And the good news here is that those are all things you can do without even knowing how to play an instrument. The first thing I need before I start writing a song is an idea. What exactly is it going to be about? There are other songwriters who prefer to sit down with an instrument and start coming up with musical ideas first. But for me, I can't do anything until I have that initial seed planted in my mind. I usually start with a broad theme and then think up a specific aspect to focus on. It needs to be something that excites me and makes me want to write about it. Once I've got that, I can't wait to get on with it and to find out myself what will happen in the story. Always make sure you write about something that interests and inspires you. The most important person to please with your song is yourself. So where can you find that initial inspiration? Here are some of the different sources of inspiration behind the songs I've written over the years. Memories and experiences from childhood and adulthood. I've got one song which sort of combines both. So I didn't start learning to ride a bike until I was 40, so I wrote a song about that, as it was a very different and more embarrassing experience than I imagine it would have been as a child. So it's good to write about what you know, but also what you don't. It can be fun to make up scenarios or write from somebody else's perspective, and interesting to learn about new things when you're doing your research for your song. Things you like, obviously, but also things you don't like. That might be a past job you've had, other people's annoying habits, or you could write a song about injustice, write a protest song. It's good for channeling any strong emotions you have and can also prove to be quite cathartic. People you like and admire. That could be famous people, but also friends and family. Place. Write about where you come from, or your favourite place, or a place you'd like to visit, which could be a fictional place. Anecdotes and overheard conversations. So, as well as things you've experienced or observed, other people can provide a rich source of inspiration. So, for example, my cousin told me that she went grocery shopping one evening and couldn't understand why everyone was being so overfamiliar. And then she found out the supermarket was holding a singles night, which I thought was a great story for a funny song. Eavesdropping on other people's conversations is also a good way to pick up lyric and song ideas, but just be subtle about how you're doing it. Images, photos, and objects. So I've got a song inspired by this. So those kind of 1940s and 50s adverts with women doing household chores in dresses and heels, full hair and makeup. I've also got a song inspired by these. So see if you can tell the difference. There's a card for a daughter and a card for a son. That's right. It's gender stereotyping in greeting cards. And those also come into the category of things I don't like, by the way. Things in your neighbourhood. So I was on a music residential once where we went outside to look for inspiration, and we found a notice board with lots of flyers and the minutes from a meeting of the local council, and those inspired us to build a whole story around one of the council members See Hibbert Foy, who spoke like this. Love, relationships, heartbreak and betrayal. So this is the classic inspiration behind loads of songs, but you can still bring a fresh perspective using your own experiences or imagination. Culture and popular culture. So write about something you've read or seen on TV or a piece of art, or you could write a song from the perspective of a character in film or literature. Music itself is a popular theme and can be very joyous. Songs about music you love, playing music, dancing. You could even come up with some dance moves for your song. Society and social trends. So obviously there's loads of songs written recently about COVID and the way it's changed society. Social media and technology is also a good source of inspiration because it also plays a big part in people's lives and changes so rapidly. And newspaper articles are great for presenting stories about interesting aspects of society, which you can then turn into a song. And finally, what if scenarios. So, what if you were the last person on Earth? What if you won the lottery? What if you were abducted by aliens? So, those are particularly good for getting your creative juices flowing. So, now you've got your song idea, what do you do next? Well, the chorus of a song is supposed to be the most memorable part and often the most meaningful. So I often start by coming up with a lyrical idea and hook for the chorus. Don't be afraid to repeat the same line. Lots of songs do that, and it helps the chorus stick in people's head and makes it easier to sing along. I recently wrote a comedy horror song about people meeting gruesome ends while on Zoom calls. So once I had that initial idea, the first thing I came up with was a chorus lyric and a vocal tune. In Zoom, no one can hear you scream when you're on mute. To make it more memorable and dramatic, I decided to repeat that 4 times with slight variations the second and last time. Although most of my songs involve me playing something as well as singing, for this one, I didn't even pick up an instrument until I'd written the chorus. And even if you do play an instrument, it can be very freeing to write the vocal tune just using your voice as the instrument. I've also had fun writing songs which are purely a cappella, and unaccompanied songs can be very powerful as there's nothing to distract from the vocals and the lyrics. Now, at this point, I'd just like to say something about capturing your ideas. A great tip for creative people is to always carry a notebook to jot down your ideas wherever you are. For songwriting, there's one other item I find crucial, and that's a voice recorder. So I use the one on my phone just to record ideas for vocal tunes and even lyrics without tunes, as it isn't always practical to whip out a notebook. I often come up with ideas when I'm walking to work or out jogging, and it's much easier than just to use my phone. Do make sure you back up your recordings and rename them as something sensible. Otherwise, you'll find that you end up with something like this. And this, I speak from experience. Yeah, something like this. And then you'll have no idea which of those was that brilliant chorus idea you had the other day. Voice recorders are also great for coming up with ideas for harmonies. Now, let's take the first half of the chorus of my Zoom song. So here's one I recorded earlier. In Zoom, no one can hear you scream when you're on mute. In Zoom, no one can hear you scream when you're on mute. So now I'm going to play that back and add some harmonies. In Zoom, no one can hear you scream when you're on mute. In Zoom, no one can hear you scream when you're on mute. Obviously, if you then want to record yourself harmonising, you need another recording device, perhaps an old phone or the voice recorder on your laptop if you have one. I've got one barbershop style song that was made purely by doing that until I had 3 lots of backing vocals to sing along with live. So once you've got your chorus and recorded your ideas, it's good to zoom out, no pun intended, and consider the wider story and structure. What do you want to say in the first verse to introduce the story and get the listener's attention? How much of the story needs to be told before the chorus so that the chorus makes sense? Do you know how the song will end? Now, don't worry if not. Sometimes I know that before I start writing a song. Other times the ending comes to me as I'm writing it and getting more embroiled in the story. Now, a typical song structure is verse, chorus, middle eight, chorus, and maybe an extra chorus for good measure. The middle eight has a different tune from the verse and chorus, and you can also use it to vary the song in other ways, perhaps by singing in a different style, or using spoken word, or introducing a twist in the story. You don't have to stick to that structure. Sometimes songs start with a chorus, so they hit you right away with the catchiest bit. Listen to songs you like and see what structures they use and how they vary things. Now, if lyrics are a big focus for you, as they are for me, I've got one final tip for you. Once I have a song idea, I often make a list of things I'd like to mention in it, which I can then use to demonstrate and develop the story and also build rhymes around. For example, the barbershop song I mentioned before is about former England footballer Gary Lineker and how I felt when he started appearing in adverts for Walker's crisps. I remember having a lot of fun making a list of crisp flavours and things to rhyme with them, ending up with parts like this. You were the soccer sweetheart of the nation, till your fans you did forsake for smoky bacon. So tell me, Gary, what's your motivation to endorse Worcester sauce with evident elation? If you're brand new to songwriting, it will probably feel pretty difficult at first, but like with anything, it does get easier the more you do it, particularly once you find your own voice and style. As I hope I've shown you, you can find inspiration in all sorts of things, and you can write songs from the comfort of your own home with just your voice and preferably a voice recorder. In a minute, I'm going to give you some creative songwriting challenges, which you'll see scrolling up your screen. I hope, as it does for me, that songwriting will help you have fun, express your creativity, and go on new adventures through the songs you write and the stories you tell. Happy songwriting! Give it a go!